rise on a point of order. Leader of the Opposition.
The New South Wales Parliament is the state's home of democracy. It consists of two houses, the Legislative Council and the Legislative Assembly. And it's here in the Legislative Assembly where 93 members represent the state's 93 electorates.
Honourable members, the Speaker.
The Speaker is the Assembly's presiding officer, meaning the person presiding over or in charge of the House.
The member for Cootamundra.
Although usually a member of the governing political party, the Speaker must act with impartiality.
I won't take instructions of any type from the government, and I will endeavour to be fair and balanced.
The current Speaker is the Honourable Jonathan O'Dea MP, seen here being dragged to the Speaker's chair when first elected to the role. That's a tradition that dates back to the 14th century. Back then in the UK Parliament, it was the Speaker's job to personally communicate the decisions of MPs to the King or Queen.
The monarch of the day wasn't always necessarily pleased with that news, and sometimes the Speaker paid the ultimate price for that.
A constant reminder can be found in the Speaker's garden just outside the Speaker's office. Sir Thomas More was a renowned lawyer, judge and philosopher and was declared the patron saint of politicians by Pope John Paul II. Sir Thomas More served as Speaker of the British House of Commons in 1523, but was later executed after falling out with the monarch. Today, newly elected speakers only pretend to be reluctant to take on the role.
So hence that tradition of the Speaker being dragged to the chair. And I can say, fortunately, in New South Wales, no Speaker has lost his or her head yet.
Dragging the incoming Speaker isn't the only time-honoured tradition. The mace, carried here by the Sergeant-at-Arms, is a symbol of the authority of both the Speaker and the House and has pride of place when Parliament's sitting. The current Speaker wears a black gown during ceremonial occasions and while he's seated in the Speaker's chair, presiding over the House. But unlike some early Speakers, he prefers to keep the traditional full-bottom wig as a display item in his office.
I wouldn't dare don this wig these days, A, because I'd look dreadful in it, but secondly, it is a relic now of the past.
The Speaker has multiple duties. When Parliament is sitting, he's tasked with chairing proceedings by interpreting and applying the standing orders.
The standing orders are sort of the rules. There's about 300 on the sort of processes and the procedures of how we run the Parliament.
The Speaker can take advice on the standing orders from the Clerk of the House, who sits at the table in front of him. Unlike MPs, the Clerk of the Legislative Assembly isn't elected by the public, but is an independent permanent officer of the House who gives advice on practice and procedures to all members.
We want an extension of time for 2 minutes to see him answer the question.
There's one time of day when Parliament can get a bit rowdy, often testing the standing orders.
The most interesting, but also the most challenging, is sitting in that seat up there in question time when you have lots of personalities who want to make their mark.
Well, welcome to the party.
And the Minister is not answering the question. It's 129.
I do observe that the Opposition isn't allowing the Minister to answer the question.
Debate can often be heated, and the Speaker can even throw out members from the House who refuse to come to order.
I don't enjoy doing that, but that is necessary, and managing that dynamic is probably the most difficult task I have.
The Speaker isn't always in the chair. There are other members on a Speaker's panel who can also preside over the chamber when required, allowing the Speaker to have a break or address other important matters for the Parliament.
When I'm not in the chair, I can speak as a local member of Parliament where there are issues that particularly relate to my electorate that I am empowered to represent.
The Speaker's role extends beyond parliamentary sittings. It's his job to represent the Legislative Assembly as a whole at things such as conferences and with representatives of foreign countries or jurisdictions. And together with the President of the Legislative Council, the Speaker has ultimate responsibility for the entire parliamentary precinct. Jonathan O'Dea is the 31st Speaker of the New South Wales Parliament. The first to take the chair was Sir Daniel Cooper in 1856. The longest serving was Sir Daniel Levy, who was elected 4 times to the position, while the youngest was Sir Edmund Barton, who became Speaker aged 33 in 1882. He would go on to join the new federal parliament in 1901 and become our first Prime Minister. The first and so far only woman to serve in the role was the Honourable Shelley Hancock, who had an 8-year term before becoming a minister. Like all of those before him, Mr O'Dea knows the Speaker's role is critical to the functioning of democracy.
It is a real honour and privilege, but also it's quite unique in this place, and I'm delighted to be able to fulfil it to the best of my ability.
Order.